6 o'clock. Is everybody ready? City manager, city attorney, everybody good? Brian, are we good? Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order then. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 1st edition of the Temple Terrace City Council. It's great to see everybody out tonight. Great to see so many young people with us tonight, you young golfers. Is tonight a school night? You have homework? Yeah? We'll see what we can do about getting you out of here as quick as possible. So it's good to see you guys. Welcome. If you would please stand and join us for the pledge and the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we gather tonight to handle the business of our city. We thank you for so many blessings that you bestow upon us each and every day. We ask for peace in the war-ravaged parts of our world, and we ask for the safety of the innocent people caught up in this conflict. We ask for your comfort for the families of our city who have lost loved ones this week. We ask for your guidance on this council to do the next right thing. Guide us on our decisions that we make tonight, both large and small, that we always do what is right and just. We ask for your grace on all of our employees of the city and for the protection of our first responders who serve and protect our fellow citizens. We ask these blessings in all the many different names that you are known, but in your most holy name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I'd like to call, first of all, Mr. James Frederick to the podium. Mr. Frederick, welcome. Good to see you, sir. I think you're quite popular tonight.
Yes, sir.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are very proud to issue a certificate of recognition to Mr. Frederick, which I'd like to read to you on behalf of the mayor and the entire council. It says, James is being recognized for establishing the Great Expectations Golf Academy, LLC, youth program that invites youth in the community to learn the game of golf. Over 100 students have already learned to enjoy the game while emphasizing a set of core values, including honesty, integrity, respect, confidence, and teamwork. This golf academy partners with the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. James's dedication and hard work has earned Great Expectations Golf Academy, LLC, the recognition, and this is the big deal part, from the Professional Golf Association as the best new program in all of North Florida. Right? So I'd be very proud to award this to you. Would you like to say a few words?
Man, a few words. I really appreciate the community, the kids, the parents, the country club, Mr. Music, Mr. Quinn, my supervisor, Mr. Schischler, yourself, Ms. Donahue. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be a part of this community.
Well, it's an honor to have you part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
down.
much. Get all those kids in that picture. It's,
Well, let's take one,
yeah,
and then we'll call, how about we call the kids up for a
yeah,
session? How's that?
yeah, definitely.
Good. Congratulations. Very good. Won't you guys
Come on, kids.
up?
Come on, kid.
Let's get one with everybody.
It's your award. It's all about you guys.
You guys get
Right?
up front.
I understand that.
You look like golfers.
Yeah, you do. All right, everybody, look at the king.
It's a cute picture.
Very good, thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Who wants to go to Dairy Queen?
Now, that's a first.
Yeah.
Peanut butter
That's awesome.
I know what Troy's thinking. It's a good time to ask for a new lift station or something, something very expensive.
He just wants an ice cream cone.
The next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Arbor Day. And if our own arborist, Joe Ferris, would like to approach the podium, please. Welcome, Joe. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
So this proclamation reads, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower heater and cooling cost, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby set aside March 13th, 2022 as Temple Terrace Arbor Day. So, thank you. Joe, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Once again this year I'm partnering with the Garden Club, which is a great organization for their spring market. If anyone hasn't been out there for it, they have a really great event they put on. I'll have 120 different trees to give out to residents, from shade trees to flowering, small canopy trees. So any resident of the city can come out and get a tree that day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's get a photograph.
Any of y'all kids want to come up? Are you going to Dairy Queen after this? Can you wait till after the meeting, please? That's a tough act to follow.
Okay, I have one more of these, and this person's not going to like this one, but it's just too bad. When you get to be mayor, there's a few prerogatives you get there. So I'd like to call the police chief, Chief Albano, to the podium, please.
Come on, you've been called.
I told you he wasn't going to like it.
Give you a ticket, though.
Chief, we've asked you to do many things. Well, even before we were on council, you were here before all of us, and we've asked you to do some pretty tough things throughout the years, and you've always stepped up and done them, and whatever we've asked you to do, you've done a terrific job. So recently, we asked a lot of you, and so in recognition of that, I'd like to read this certificate of recognition, and it says, Ken Albano is hereby recognized for accepting the responsibility of ex officio city manager of the city of Temple Terrace. Chief Albano provided a sense of stability for staff, city officials, and the public. It doesn't say this, but and the mayor. Chief Albano kept the city's day-to-day activities running smoothly with the assistance of staff. As the ex officio city manager, he served as the chief fiscal officer for the city also, supervised the directors, advised city council, and again, the mayor. He was instrumental in obtaining temporary and immediate staffing assistance for the building official from Hillsborough County and contractor for such services during the city's time of need. And I'd like to add lib a little to this, if you guys will bear with me. We discovered on Wednesday, as many of you know, that we had some building inspections that were due, that were kind of pressing, and really didn't have the ability to do that without the umbrella of a building official. Inside of a week, we were able to obtain assistance from the county, largely due to Chief Albano, and they loaned us a building official and some assistance, and in less than a week, we were able to clear out that backlog and get caught up and get these construction projects back on track. On the 15th day of needing an interim city manager, we swore in an interim city manager on the 15th day. And I challenge you, and I told people in Tallahassee this last week when I was there, I challenge you to find a city that can do that. And this is not a city that is adrift or doesn't have purpose, because we accomplished tremendous things. And a lot of that, Chief, was due to you, so thank you.
Absolutely.
You guys, come on. Guys, I'll go down and get a picture. I'm not going up here alone, I'm bringing back up.
Memo that wants us to go black. Oh, yeah.
All yours, Chief.
Just 2 seconds, really. I just want to share, I appreciate this. I had no idea, and the mayor is right. I wouldn't have wanted it, but I do appreciate it. But for all that was accomplished, I got to take this time to say, too, that we, and the mayor said it, and you guys are some of our biggest fans, and you go out and say it, but staff is the reason why we were able to accomplish the things that we were able to accomplish. All I did is try to listen and assist where I could assist and put some things in motion, and work a heck of a lot more hours than I normally do. But the people that really help get it done is the staff that serves alongside of me as the directors and those that serve for those directors. So we have phenomenal staff and employees, and as the mayor said, we are not adrift. We are in good shape, and brighter days are yet to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, we have a presentation from Dr. Kiran C. Patel Elementary School Principal, Ashley Galfond. If you would like to approach. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and honored that you give me some time to share an exciting opportunity for students and a great choice for parents to add to their options for elementary school. Dr. Kiran C. Patel Elementary is opening this fall. We'll open August 2022. We've already had our lottery and we're enrolling students, very busy. We have parents showing up to our open houses, doing tours, hiring teachers. So it's a very busy campus with only 2 adults there right now to speak of. But we have joined the education facility grounds with 2 fantastic schools, and we're ready to take off and continue with the excellence there. Does this work to change it, or do I?
Just check to see if it's actually on. Somebody it's on the side.
Got it. Thank you. There we go. So just briefly paraphrasing, the mission of the elementary school is to really build students that can collaborate and problem solve with one another, as well as do very deep diving into the curriculum in an innovative way that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to see yet. And our vision is really to create a family at our school, so every student feels a part of a family and can grow into a leadership role and build great relationships through our social emotional learning. This is just kind of a little bit of an outline about how we stand out, why Patel Elementary will be different, can be different for families. Number one is the high academic standards, and we kind of just walked into that, being on the campus with some traditional greatness with Terrace Community Middle School and a new high school that's in its 3rd year that's proven already to be an A school and really excelling students. What makes us different is our innovative curriculum. We are focused on the whole child, so that's talking about healthy hearts and bodies and minds, as well as the social emotional learning, so students learn to get along with one another, understand their own feelings, and can be successful in a safe place. Our project-based learning is the biggest difference for students that happens at the high school as well, and we'll talk a little bit about how it's brought down to the elementary level where students take ownership of their learning. Safety and security is huge. I'm tasked with a very big job bringing in kindergartners. Every parent, that is the one thing that is their biggest concern and worry when they drop their children off, and bringing in kindergartners, that's compounded when I may very well have the first environment that they've trusted somebody with. Especially a lot of our kids coming in, we're seeing in this COVID time too that they're coming from virtual schools and home schools, so we have to make sure that we have a secure campus and our children are safe and happy and learning. Our building is gorgeous. I will say that it just impressed me from the moment I walked in. We have very spacious classrooms. The blueprints were increased by 10,000 square feet right at the onset of COVID to make sure we have room for social distancing and flexible seating to change up our classrooms. We also have some great outdoor learning spaces, tennis courts, outdoor court, track, soccer field, and a gorgeous playground that I'll give you a little preview of. And of course, one thing that parents are concerned about is the certification of teachers. And we are still a public school, federally funded by the state, the district, and our teachers are required to have Florida teaching certificates in their area, which for most of our teachers is elementary education or early childhood education. Our teachers will also be trained in project-based learning and social emotional learning. I mentioned before, our focus is on the whole child and knowing that they're safe both physically and emotionally, they're able to better learn. The social emotional learning is embedded in our curriculum, all of our lessons, as well as very strategically discussed in our morning meetings. And the purpose of this is because students have to work well together. So parents should thank us in the end when they're getting along better with siblings, because we're really focused on them getting along with their classmates, understanding their own feelings, being able to respect the differences of opinions or ideas of their classmates, and building those strong relationships. Project-based learning, as I mentioned, is already happening at the high school, and we are bringing it to a primary level where students are taking control of the classroom and their learning. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of what that looks like when we're talking about 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 7-year-olds. This is an example of a problem that we could be faced in our classroom. We get a call from a local zoo in the area, and the zoo says there is an orphaned polar bear in the Arctic, and we have been asked to take care of this polar bear for 2 years until it's strong enough to live on its own and survive in the wild. The problem now that we're faced with is there's never been a polar bear habitat built in this warm climate that we have in Tampa, and we need the help of this class to design a habitat that will help the polar bear thrive until it's ready to be released in the wild. So this is where the teacher has skillfully already prepared things that meet the standards, where students are able to have leveled readers to learn about the animal on their level, but now the children take control and decide what the most important things they need to learn about are. What do they eat? How large are they? What size habitat might they need? What about their temperature? What adaptations do they have for the Arctic that we have to make sure they can utilize while here in Florida? And those go into all content areas, and that's what project-based learning is really filtering through all of the content areas in their learning. As far as safety and security, we have quite an advantage of being a brand new school. So things were built with this in mind. We have key fobs to get into all of the classrooms. Every classroom door is locked. The outsides are locked. We have security cameras in our entryways and hallways. We have a school security officer on every site, and there are 3 sites on our campus with the elementary, middle, and high school. So we'll have 3 security guards, teachers trained in emergency situations, and all carrying the key fobs, the card readers from Centegix that can either notify the office of a simple emergency, such as a child maybe hurt on the playground we need to get to quickly, or something more serious that can lock our school down and notify law enforcement without having to go through phone calls to the office and cell phone calls. I mentioned our spacious classrooms to allow for greater square footage, and of course we'll have emergency officials, local law enforcement, taking a look at how we run our drills and giving us any feedback on how to make our facility safer. These are just some pictures now, some fun things of how our classroom is colorful, fun, and collaborative so students can work together. This is an example of a kindergarten classroom. And I know that by the tables. In kindergarten, they're still working at tables together. The teacher has a space for small groups. We have interactive panels that hook to the internet, have digital whiteboards, and a reading carpet so students can work with the teacher, do some read to self, and read with their friends. Here we're moving into 1st through 5th grade. You'll see the desks are not traditional. They fit together to be able to form different grouping styles for cooperative groups. Those will vary in height based on 1st through 5th grade. And this is the fun part where I tell the kids, as soon as this is up and going, we're going to have races down the slide. They can bring a couple siblings and race that triple slide. My son's a 5th grader, and he has begged that he can be the first to try it out when it's built. So we're super excited for that to go in. We will follow the calendar pretty closely to Hillsborough County Schools. It still has to be approved by our board, but we intend to follow what the middle school and the high school are doing on our campus as far as the start dates. And we've strategically placed our timing 1 hour apart for each school to help with our traffic flow and the many parents coming through to pick up. We'll have aftercare on our site. Lunch is also served at our school, and that is catered, similar to the elementary school and high school. Parents go online and select which days they want to purchase which of the particular meals that are coming in. We are a uniform school, and our uniforms not only reflect the school colors, but they also will be different from the other schools to help be able to identify very quickly who belongs to which campus. And I mentioned we are joining greatness. Terrace Community Middle School moved to our campus this July, started with students in August. They have amazing excellence, 22 years of really stellar instruction, A school. I'm a little biased having children there, but super impressed with it, and that was really one of the things that brought me to the charter world from Hillsborough County Schools. And then, of course, Patel High School, amazingly, in its 3rd year, already an A-rated school, one of, I believe, 5 in the district, and its very first year earning a school grade and offering Cambridge program for students. And so this is basically it for parents that want to learn more about our school. We've had our lottery. Our kindergarten still has a pretty healthy wait list. Our 1st grade is full right now, but always revolving with students, parents, families making different decisions. And 2nd grade has a couple spots, so you can get to us through patelelementary.org. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Our teachers will have emails at patelelementary.org. We'll have conferences, weekly newsletters, so lots of communications for families to be involved. I think that's the end of it.
Thank you. Council members, questions?
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So thrilled to be here. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
For coming and sharing the information with us. We look
Again, I
forward to seeing
appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda are some board appointments. We have a few vacancies on some of our boards. The first one is the Riverwatch Task Force. There's one vacancy on the Riverwatch Task Force for a term extending from March 1st, 2022 until March 1st, 2025. The city received 2 applications, one from Meade Lewis and one from Samuel Sain, I know I'm going to say this wrong. I hate saying people's names wrong. Sain Villas? I'm sorry? Okay, good. Would you, okay, good. Would you like to come up, each of you? Let you, Mr. Lewis, say a few words? Sure. Thank you.
Hey there. As was described, my name is Meade Lewis. Over the last 12 months, not only have I lost more hair, but I was awarded with Forbes 30 Under 30, if you're familiar. So that's been exciting. I've been growing a business, but I've also had the honor of being one of the alternative board members for the Temple Terrace Riverwatch Task Force. During that time, I've made sure to come to all of the events that were scheduled, as well as come to the meetings and help with the decision-making to better our local community that I am truly falling in love with after my 12 months here. So I love to be a part of this and cannot thank you enough for considering me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Nice to meet you.
Mr. St. Villas, would you like to say a few words?
How you doing? Good evening.
Good,
I'm
Sergeant.
Samuel St. Villas, Sergeant First Class in the U.S. Army. I've been living in Temple Terrace since August 2019. I wanted to support my community. I noticed that there was a vacancy on the board as a member, so I just wanted to give it an opportunity to see where I can, best support our activities.
Very good, Sergeant. Welcome to Temple Terrace, and thank you for your offer of volunteering. We appreciate that very much. Okay, each council member has a ballot to vote for their top applicant for service on the Riverwatch Task Force. If you would complete your ballot and please pass them down. As the ballots are tabulated, I do want to say that this is a very difficult for this council every time we have more than one person apply for one position, because we're so thrilled to get citizen volunteers that it feels like we're not accepting somebody, and we hate to do that. So I just want to encourage whoever of you doesn't get this particular seat, please don't go away. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities, and we're thrilled to have you, whichever one, involved in Temple Terrace. So please don't take this as any, oh, they didn't appoint me, and, we're thrilled to have both of you.
So Mayor Ross voted for Meade Lewis, and council members Abel and Chambers voted for Meade Lewis, and council members Schisler and Donahue voted for Samuel San Villas.
So 3-2.
So it's 3-2. Darn, I hate that. So, is there a motion to appoint Meade Lewis to the Riverwatch Task Force?
I move to approve Reed Lewis to the task force.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Sergeant, we hope to see you again soon.
Your evenings are still free.
Yes.
Does that mean his alternate position's open now?
Yeah.
His alternate.
His alternate position is, yes, the alternate position that Mr. Lewis is vacating.
Just opened.
Just opened up. And so, by our rules.
You know the board.
So by our rules, we have to open that up. We can't just do this tonight like, oh, I know, we'll make him we can't do that. So, but
You're looking for your.
we would be very happy to see you apply for that. We're thrilled to have you here. And so, yes, his seat did just open, so keep an eye on the website. Thanks for reminding me of that.
We look
So next up is a little easier. This one is an appointment to the Municipal Code Board. We have one vacancy on the Municipal Code Enforcement Board for a term extending from March 1st, 2022 until March 1st, 2025. This one's a little easier because we received one application from David Redding, and that makes things a little easier. Mr. Redding, would you like to say a few words?
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. Not terribly new to Florida. I'm a native. Moved down from Brooksville quite a while ago. I've always looked for different ways to contribute to my community, and my grandfather was a carpenter, and I carried that on into my own life. I've got a cabinet shop in my garage now. So when I saw the opening for the Municipal Code Enforcement Board, I thought to myself, well, this is a place where I can give back. I have some intimate knowledge of buildings. And I'm sure there's a lot of details we can go into there. But beyond that, I'm really looking for an opportunity just to participate in the community, more so than just being a neighbor.
good. Welcome.
Mr. Redding, welcome. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the appointment of David Redding as a member of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Congratulations, Mr. Redding, and thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from February 15th City Council meeting?
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Next is persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We do impose a 3-minute time limit for all comments from the public. We do ask that speakers come to the podium, state your name and city of residence, and we like to assure everybody that the mayor, the council, the city staff, the directors, we all take your comments very seriously, and we do act upon them and follow up on them. So I currently have only one request to speak. Ms. Tumbleson, welcome. There are,
I'm watching the clock.
okay.
Jan Tumbleson, City of Temple Terrace. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hi. Okay, my topic is the Rollison Ranch Road surplus property. I am interested in information regarding the appraisal with and without Fowler Avenue access. I want to know the bid opening, the date, the time, and the place. I want to know the status of the easement through SwiftMud. This has been a long time going on, and the talks have been there, and directors have changed, and SwiftMud has changed directors all the time. And I want to know any information about FDOT and the access to this property through Fowler. Thank you for your time and information.
Are there other members of the public who wish to address the council? Going once, going twice. Okay, we will move on. Next item on the agenda is a resolution accepting a utility easement from Telecom Park LLC. City Engineer Brian McCarthy will explain. Welcome, Mr. McCarthy. Always a pleasure.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Brian McCarthy, City Engineer. And today I'm here seeking approval to accept utility easements from Telecom Park LLC to go along with the vacating of the existing easements from Folio 037376-0000. We need first a new utility easement. Just to refresh everyone's memory, in the yellow here is the city boundaries, and in the green is the property with the easements. There we go. Here's the a general overview of the easements currently located within the property, as well as what's being proposed. Proposed is in gray, and in the X's are the vacated easements, or the requested or easements to be vacated at some point. And with this resolution, we're looking for approval for the pink shaded area. That's the proposed easement where our new water main and sanitary sewer force mains will go. And with that, if you have any questions, please let me know. The applicant is also here today in case you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Prior to that, are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? If not, does the applicant wish to provide any additional information?
No, he doesn't.
Very good. Council members, questions? Questions? Very good. If there are no questions, is there a motion accepting the utility easement from Telecom Park LLC?
Move to approve the resolution accepting the utility easement from Telecom Park LLC.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Next item is a second public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1522, partially vacating utility easements in Folio 037-376-0000. I'll open the public hearing, and City Engineer Brian McCarthy will explain this item as well.
All right, good evening once again. Brian McCarthy, City Engineer, and I'm here for the second reading of the ordinance to vacate the utility easement within the Folio 037-376-0000. So in the first reading was done at the last City Council meeting on February 15th. And again, just to refresh everyone's memory, highlighted in green is the parcel that we're looking to vacate the easements with. There is one minor change as I go through this. Again, this is the exhibit you saw earlier with the X's is what's being vacated through the property, not necessarily by the city, but just what needs to be vacated. And then the shaded is the proposed that was recently approved. So back at the last city council meeting, I came before you requesting for 2 easements to be vacated. After discussions with the applicant, Public Works, and the city attorneys, we discovered that the one easement wasn't dedicated to the city. So therefore, we're only here to request permission to vacate a partial easement. In this next slide, you can just see the east-west one is all that we're requesting at this time. The developer will reach out to the other easement owner to proceed with that vacate. With that, staff recommends approval of the ordinance to partially vacate the existing utility easement. Again, the applicant is here in case there's any questions. Thank you for your time.
Good. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, questions? Very good. And I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the partial vacation and dedication of easements within property identified as Folio 037-376-0000 in unincorporated Hillsborough County, providing for conditions of vacation, providing for recordation, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Very good. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1522 on second reading?
I move to adopt the ordinance 1522, partially vacating utility easements in Folio 037-376-0000. Second.
A motion and a second. Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance is adopted on second reading. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Next item is the second public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1523, amending City Code Section 1-105, Schedule of Violations and Penalties, and Section 16-7, Noise Ordinance. I'll open the public hearing, and we'll hear from City Attorney Pam Shoshone.
Thank you. At our last meeting, I gave basically the full presentation on the changes that we have made to this particular ordinance. It came about because there had been some issues going on, and we realized that our present ordinance was not sufficient to address those problems. At the end of my presentation last time, council asked that we publish the proposed changes to the public so that we can request any comments that anyone had. I received no comments from anybody since the last meeting, so the ordinance is still the same as it was at the last meeting. I can answer any questions that you may have. My laptop sort of decided to take a nap permanently when I sat down here, so I'm looking at the ordinance on my phone and trying to see it. So, but if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Good. Thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? Any questions for
Comment or questions?
Vice Mayor? Well, questions.
Question. I don't have any questions. Well, it's in relation to your, to the generation of the public comment, request for public comment. I had 2. One was in total support of it, and one was complaining that now kids can't play outside after 8 o'clock at night. So we know that's not the intent, and that's not going to happen with that. So I agree, there was virtually no public reaction to the ordinance changes.
I would imagine the first time an officer was to issue a violation to a child in their yard, that they would be at the police chief's office pretty quick.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's what he's worried about.
Are there other questions?
No.
Okay. If not, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, titled General Provisions, Article 2, Code Enforcement, Division 3, Supplemental Enforcement Procedures, subsection 1-105B, to reference City Code 16-7 in the Schedule of Violations and Penalties, amending the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, titled Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 1 in general, subsection 16-7, noise control to provide definitions and limitations on excessive noise within city limits, providing for severability, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1523 on second reading?
Move to approve ordinance 1523, amending City Code Section 1-105 on second reading.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on second reading. Thank you, City Attorney. Next is carryover council business. We have one item on the agenda, and then I'll open it up for council members. So the item on the agenda is council will provide feedback to our Public Works Director of Utilities, Troy Tinch, in regard to the city's American Rescue Plan Act project list. And welcome, Mr. Tinch.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Troy Tinch, Public Works Utilities Director. As you'll recall, 1 month ago today, actually, I presented the ARPA plan, the city's draft American Rescue Plan Act. In that plan, I had identified a number of projects, roughly $10 million worth of utility work to be done within the city. Of that was about $2.6 million in stormwater projects and about $7.4 million worth of water and wastewater projects. That said, I'm asking to potentially amend that particular plan and then add one additional project. And that project would be the construction of a new administration building for the utilities department. Now, this was actually brought forward in June of last year when I was initially tasked with developing a priority list for projects to be potentially spent, to be potentially constructed with ARPA money. And I brought it to the city manager at that time. It was our number one priority project. The estimate to construct the project is somewhere between $5 and $6 million. In general, we're looking at probably about a 10,000 square foot hardened facility, hurricane rated facility, something that we don't even have within the entire city. So this would be something relatively new. It would allow for a place for us to harbor in the event of a hurricane. The entire staff would have an area to go to. There'd be a bunk room, a kitchen, other amenities, as well as your basic office amenities would all be under one roof. Again, the intent would be to have that, to allow for that safe harbor during a hurricane event. Staff would then go from that point on out post-hurricane to deal with any hurricane-related issues. I feel strongly that this was something that should be of high priority for the city. It's definitely a high priority within the utility department. I highly recommend it. Again, it was my number one, our staff's number one recommendation initially. So what we would like to do is add that to the list. Again, all these other projects will stay on the list. They may not fall, they may no longer be a priority one project. It would potentially, most of them in the water and the wastewater side would fall to priority two. Now, of course, if the overall construction dollars came in less than what we anticipate, we could then move some of those priority two projects forward. But I would like to recommend that we add that again to the existing list, make that a priority one to be spent with the water and wastewater dollars. The stormwater projects will remain as they are, and they will also remain priority one projects. So we would plan on continuing down the path of doing all the stormwater projects, the four that we have identified, and then look at adding in this one project versus the 10 that we have identified as priority projects, priority one. What that also does is that lessens that strain, if you will, on staff. Instead of managing 10 separate smaller projects, now we're just going to be managing one larger project. So allow us to kind of focus in a little more fine on that particular area. So that is our recommendation. I know you have some questions. Councilman Schisler, you've indicated you have some questions, and I'll be happy to stand for any, as well as answer any questions that I may regarding the recommendation of adding this new project.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Tinch. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions. Vice Mayor Schisler.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you bringing this forward because my biggest question, well, several big questions. One, managing all these projects, okay? We have to take care of the city business as we go forward, and this is going to put a significant strain on your staff and finance and everybody else. My second concern has been the glut of work that's actually going to just descend upon the entire county. There's only so many companies that can do this work. And if we are all trying to compete with for the same dollar with a limited number of construction companies, two things are going to happen. One, our little projects are going to get pushed down because they're going to go with the bigger numbers. And two, there's going to be a premium. When the demand increases on limited supply, that price could go up 15%.
Absolutely.
Okay, so instead of now doing, 10 projects for $9 million, we're now doing 6 projects for the same $9 million, somewhere in that range. And I don't know whether that's going to be completely accurate, but there's going to be financial demands for it. Whereas I don't think, and I had heard about the hardening of the administration building before, so it gave me some time to think about it. The construction of that building isn't going to have the same kind of demands from everybody else because everybody wants to put pipes in the ground.
Questions?
Huh?
Questions?
Questions. Well, okay, I'll wait.
This is going to be more
Well,
expensive.
His question is,
Is it,
am I right?
okay, is it going to be more expensive? Is my thought process and logic on the demands of the overall system with being flooded with all these projects, is that legitimate?
I believe it is legitimate, and I believe that us focusing on a building when you have the county and the city, our competing cities, not to mention the entire state, the entire country, is all going to be influenced by this money. So us focusing on a facility, which is a defined use, it is an acceptable use under this plan, I think that differentiates us a little bit from maybe even those in the county, and we potentially could get some better bid prices, I think, for construction of a building versus 10 smaller pipe projects or lift station projects or things of that nature, where you've got these bigger firms are going to be kind of going after the larger fruit. And so this is something to kind of dangle out there that is a lot more desirable, I think,
And
from that standpoint.
will public safety be participating in EOC also, or in that hardened building?
It will not have a public safety component. It will
Only,
only be for staff.
okay.
I'm sorry, is that the question?
I'm talking about an emergency situation, in a hurricane scenario.
Generally, it's only for city staff.
Just for
What we could do, though, is we could potentially, it could be maybe a second EOC,
okay,
if you would. So say something were to happen to the fire station.
get back up.
It could be a potential backup. And I know I was also speaking with IT. It's a good idea to have your servers in a hardened facility. We could make room for the servers. It's also a good idea to have your servers off-site, which again would kind of address that issue. So I think there's options here for us to look at to expand a little bit, not much. I don't want to get too far outside of the intent, but I think there's some options here for us to have a redundancy for an EOC and certainly have that capability to have some off-site storage for our information technology group. So,
Thank you.
Question? I know you have comments. Any more
No,
questions?
never mind,
Okay.
never mind.
Councilmember Abel and then Councilmember Chambers.
So this hardened facility at the water department that you're talking about, does this involve demolishing an existing building and replacing it with a new construction?
that is correct. So the existing facility is over 70 years old, and I know you were out for the tour. You had probably a chance to look more at the outside than the inside, but the building was never intended to be used for its current day use. It's been many things throughout its life, including, I think at one time it was City Hall. So it's been a little bit of everything, and there was some significant termite damage as of late. We've had issues with the roof. I think building a new facility that has higher rated facilities inside, you're talking about something that's going to be much more efficient and potentially even less carrying costs or maintenance costs for a building that's even larger because it's newer and it would have all those amenities built in.
You answered my follow-up question about the current condition of the existing facility, but just to make sure I understand, do you think that there's room in the existing footprint for a larger facility in that space? Or would it have to be like stacked taller or?
We'd have a couple different options. We could potentially go up, but I think what we'd really like to do is push forward. You've got a large green space in front of the water plant, for those of you who've been there and kind of have an idea what that facility looks like. So we would probably look to push forward with a new facility, extend the fence area around that, and kind of make sure that's all hardened and secured.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Hey, thank you.
I do.
When you said administration staff, would it be staff just for the water division or staff for all of administration of public works?
It would be all of Public Works utilities. So it would be water, wastewater, and also right now we have streets under us, so it would be
And your office?
my office, engineering. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Second question, it's hardened, so you're designed to what category? Are you anticipating 3, 4, or 5?
5, I would recommend a Cat 5. I think given our current climate, it's probably called for.
Yeah, Cat 6, really.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Donahue.
I remember talking about this, but I don't remember why it was pushed. Where was it pushed to? Like 2024? I mean,
It was actually pushed off the list.
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought it back.
Thank you.
I mean, we have all toured this building, and every one of us, when you brought it forward, and we're like, oh my gosh, why, thank you. I don't know who remembered this building, but this is obviously neat. Now, would this be something that would work with an emergency operations center, or not? It's just another emergency operations center, but for this particular.
Right, it would be a utilities EOC,
Yeah,
if you will. So we would still work in concert with one another. As a matter of fact, some of the projects that Sally's working on now helps tie that all together with the fiber optic cable. So, it would have that ability to be a redundancy. I'm not going to say it's going to be a full EOC, but it would be certainly something we could use in an emergency situation to add in the additional elements, police and fire. So.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if did I address your question?
To piggyback on that a little bit, hopefully in the future, 50 years down the road, we have a hardened EOC, a hardened utilities EOC, and a hardened police station. We have a series of hardened redundancy, and that's what we're trying to work towards.
Better speed that up to 20.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have one question, because most of them have been answered, so thank you. So if you're going to build a new facility on the same footprint as the old one, how are you going to manage the transition? You're going to have to demolish that building while the new construction's going on. What are you going to do in the interim?
So what we could do in the interim is we could bring in some temporary facilities if we needed to, a trailer, maybe modules, thank you. Or we could even utilize some of the space that we have in our sewer shop, the one that was damaged in the fire that was recently brought back online. So there's some options there for us to house staff in the interim, but it's something that we can certainly do. The nice thing is we have some space out there, so we could put maybe a couple of modulars on site in the interim, and that would probably be our intent.
So my second question is, in this building, I've been in it, but I haven't, not for this purpose. So is this building, does it include control mechanisms for the operation of the plant, or is it just an administration building?
It's mainly just administration. We purposely don't have control outside of what we call the lab for the water plant. I know you will all recall there was a water plant very near here that had some issues with online hacking. So one of the nice things about not having that connection, there being kind of its own separate unit, literally run by computers only in that facility that are not connected to the outside world, it would not allow that to happen.
Okay.
So we really need to limit that. Not to say that we still couldn't maybe formulate something that would allow a connection, but if it was allowed, it would be a very short, just from building to building, and again, would have to make sure we're not connected to the internet.
Thank you. So, council members, we need to decide if we're going to go this route. Then we would be doing a couple things at the same time. We'd be approving the amendment to the proposed list to include the construction of this building, but as a result, we would also be altering the list by moving some of those projects down to allow for the funding for the building. So we could approve this as requested. We could throw the building out again and approve the list as presented, or we can tinker with this if we so desire. I don't recommend that, but we could. So those are kind of the options in front of us.
Yes.
Well, I'd like make a motion.
Well, and that would open it up for discussion, because I know we have some of that.
Okay, well, my motion would be to approve the amended list as presented tonight with the Public Works Administration Building and the stormwater projects being next.
Second.
A motion and a second. Just for clarification, the stormwater projects as they're presented on the list.
The number one priority is for, yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
all right.
Because that was the presentation tonight and the recommendation tonight.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second by Councilmember Abel. Discussion. Vice Mayor?
I think it's important that we do this. I think I really do. There's, the demand out there is going to be incredible. I hate to keep harping on that, but, was it $385 million worth of ARPA projects for this county alone? And there's only so many companies are going to be doing it. We're either going to fall to the bottom of the list and really risk not getting them done in time for the final deadline, as well as the premium that we're going to end up paying to get them done, period, because it's just going to go higher. It's going to be way more than we expect it to be at this point. I think it's money saved, excellent utilization of the assets that were being given, and I think it's the way we need to go. I support it completely.
Other council member comments? Councilmember Abel.
I think this is a really proactive thing to do also, because it's really rare that we get this big chunk of change to do something like this. And I think
Really a gift, absolutely.
I think it's really important long-term, and, for our employee safety and for the integrity of, operations there. So I'm in favor of it.
I have one comment.
Okay, Councilmember Donahue.
I apologize if we in any way had to do with removing this very important asset off the list. And if we did, it was just that we weren't paying enough attention. So it needs to be done, and I can't imagine that anything would rise above this. And like you said, all the other projects they're still on the list.
Yes.
Nothing's been taken off of the list. I was really happy that I had a few citizens who called me and said, I've read the entire list. I was like, wow, that's impressive. But they had the credentials to read the list. So they weren't just, bored. They were actually reading it. And so I want to thank you for a very concise presentation as well, because to the people who understand like you do, this was beautifully done. And to people who don't understand it, as I did understand it after reading it. So I applaud you and anyone who helped you put the list together.
I was going to say, it was a team effort for sure.
I'm sure it
the
was, but
engineer
you get the accolades.
and Deputy Director.
If we were mad at you, you'd be the one we were yelling at.
There we go.
Well, I have just one real quick comment, and then we'll vote, and that is, good job, Mr. Tinchin. We don't owe an apology because we didn't remove
No.
this. But we, just so the public understands, the other projects on this list, most of them, if not all of them, are already part of our capital improvement plan. So these are projects that we were already planning to do. We just were accelerating them because we've got this federal funding. So all of these projects on this list are going to get done. It's just going to take us longer to do them. Whereas the $6 million building, we don't have the money to do. So this is very good thinking, and we need to set ourselves up for the future, which is, we need to be thinking down the road and not just fixing potholes.
Right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Very good. If there's no further discussion on the motion, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays? Resolution is adopted, and you, I believe, have your direction.
Yes, I do. I'll be bringing the revised ARPA plan in final form under a resolution at our next meeting.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Other council business, I think Vice Mayor Schister had some.
Well, I had business, just a board report.
Oh, okay. Council, carryover council business.
I have a question about the broadband issue.
Ms. Carrera? You know, we just approved that.
Well, I was getting ready to ask, did we leave the million in then?
Yes, we
Yes,
just
okay.
approved that.
Okay,
We-
I
the
thought so,
motion-
but,
The motion was to.
okay.
Yes.
There was this, wait, nobody's used that word, so.
We approved that by inclusion with the reference
Okay.
to
Yes,
the.
that is correct.
Okay. Well, I have a feeling she would have been jumping up and down if we had removed it, but yeah.
Yeah.
And it was important to all of us that
It
it
is
be in here.
important. Yep,
Okay.
yep. Just, well, that's good. Everybody understands that we clarified. But yes,
All right.
Thank you for all your work.
other carryover council business. We just scared 10 years off of Sally. Right? Other carryover council business. Going once, going twice. Okay, new business and board reports, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got appointed through Hart to an interesting board that I'd been an alternate with before, but never had an opportunity to really attend any of the meetings. It's the Transportation Disadvantaged Coordinating Board. I hate the title because you don't understand what it's hard, and they don't like the title either, most part. But I had my initial meeting this past week, and I know Temple Terrace has a transportation program through Leisure Services, and this adds to that. And I just felt that it was something I need to bring to make sure everybody in council understands it, as well as people who may be listening to it, as well as staff. It's a Board of County Commission board, and it's almost like the safety net of transportation within the county. And I found it quite interesting. You have Hart. Hart has its fixed bus lines, and everybody knows where they go or don't go. But then Hart has another subgroup called Hart Plus. And Hart Plus is the little vans that go out around, it was 3/4 of a mile beyond a bus stop or a bus route that they would go and they would service. And they would, pick you up. I almost used it one time when I had my knees operated on to get to a heart meeting, but it was too early in the morning. But they only did 3/4 of a mile around the bus route. They just recently, for everybody to know this, they just recently expanded that to 1.5 miles around the bus lines, so that increases the coverage. But then there's the transportation disadvantaged buses called Sunshine Line. I don't know if you've seen them around, they're little buses, but they cover everybody else. That covers the rest of the county. So if you live outside the Hart Plus jurisdiction or coverage area, this is a safety net that helps. And it's for elderly, it's for the senior citizens, it's for disabled individuals, it's for economically challenged people. You got to get to work, and they'll help with, with bus passes. They'll help with reduced fees. They'll come pick you up and take you to your doctor's visit. They supplement what the city does. In fact, the city has we're listed in their overall transportation availability schedules and fares, but this goes above and beyond what we offer through the city. And I just wanted to bring out to our board and to people listening that this is out there. It's really a pretty good program, and it doesn't get a whole lot of fanfare. It doesn't get a whole lot of public attention. And I commented to them that they need to do a better job of advertising it. And I hate to say it, Lori, but they're going to give me some stuff so we can pass on to our residents and the people that may be able to benefit from it. So I just wanted to bring forward to the board. This is, there's a lot of things going on out there that we don't know about. And as we find out, we'll bring them to everybody's attention. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good information to have. Other new business or board reports? Councilmember Donahue.
I'm not wearing this green shirt for St. Patrick's Day, okay? This is a blatant advertisement for the 19th annual spring market. The difference between this spring market and the 18 before us is that this year we're actually partnering with the city to host the Chalk Festival. And so, I can give you a long commercial. It's going to have, you know, food trucks and plant vendors and vendors for all things beautiful for the home and garden. But what I want you to hear is that it's going to have these, it's 8, am I correct? 8 professional chalk artists who are coming. And there's an interactive project, public art project with the Arts Council. So now that's the Garden Club, the city, and the Arts Council all working together. There's also, you know, the Women's Club will be there. All these different groups are coming together. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that we need to start thinking about, so there's a segue here. Besides my blatant commercial, by the way, it's on March 13th from 10 to 3 at Woodmont Park. We need to be thinking about this 100-year committee, okay? And if you may have already decided who you're going to appoint, but I want to point out that what you're seeing happen is what should happen as we plan this event. This should not be a bunch of people who come together to just plan a party. You know, when you think about the year 2025, you could easily have celebrations. You know, you've got the Rotary's Brew Fest, you have the Spring Market from Garden Club, you have the Women's Club Tour of Homes. I mean, the Arts Councils, heaven forbid I leave them out, I'll be shot. The Arts Council's Art en Blanc and the Art Festival. So you have all these things that happen. Plus, you have all these things that happen with the city. But there needs to be a group, which would be this committee, to shepherd them, if you will, so that they're not all falling all over each other. I know there was a real concern that the Chalk Festival and the Arts then the Spring Market were going to be back to back. That can't happen if we're planning a whole year of celebration. So when you're thinking about who you're going to appoint, event planning is not something that people do as a hobby. There are people with master's degrees in this. So, you know, look at the Arts Council, look at the Garden Club. I've already had several people I only have one vote to vote for somebody, okay, but I've had several people approach me from the Arts Council, the Garden Club, the Rotary Club, you know, say, hey, I want to be on that committee. So please think of the committee as much as a planning committee as an organizational committee. Because if we get all of these groups doing something, first of all, it takes it off of the city. It's not just this year-long series of events, but it gives a piece of that year-long celebration to all those different groups. So I just want to encourage you when you're looking for who you're going to appoint, that you think about that. And then last but not least, Carl, thank you for staying here because you can answer the questions. City employees, here you go. Let's see, I don't know how to get this to the camera. There you go. The body achieves what the mind believes. You want to tell us about this fantastic health initiative that you're rolling out this morning? And I got my shirt this morning. I was so happy to be there.
Thank you for putting me on the spot. Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. March is Commit to Fit month for all of our city employees, where they have the opportunity to improve their health, their wellness, through exercise, through self-improvement initiatives, either on their own or through the family complex and the rec center and classes in the fitness center that we offer. There is a scale of activities that generate points, and points accumulate, and as you accumulate points, your opportunity to earn prizes and mementos increase with the health and wellness improvements that come along with it. We chose March as the time to do this. Historically, we've done this in January or February as a way to kick off the new year, and we thought, well, people are starting their New Year's resolutions in January and February anyway, so let's try and pick them up where they might start faltering from those New Year's resolutions. So as they start falling off from what they were trying to do at the beginning of the year in February, let's hit them again with it in March and get them right back into it. So instead of having a 1 or 2 month period at the beginning of year of fitness, we can turn it into a 4, 5, or 6 month stretch. And once you get to that level of repetition and part of your routine, it is easier to extend it and have it become a part of your lifestyle. So this is a great opportunity for our city employees to get in shape, improve their wellness, improve their health, hopefully lower our insurance costs and premiums, and general well-being for all of our city staff. So
Thank you. By the way, employees, that means us. Okay, that's,
absolutely.
there you go. Go get your
Expect to
shirt.
see you all.
And of course, you need to extend your invitation to everyone to come ride a bike with you.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
get there.
I have a list. I want to make sure you get there. Okay, thank you. That, yep,
okay?
I am finished. Thank you.
Other new business or board reports. I do have, I'm under threat of permanent disability or death if I don't mention this, that the Bike with the Mayor is March the 11th at the rec center, the Family Rec Center, at 7:30 in the morning, I believe is the time to show up, and I think the ride starts at 8 o'clock. And if I can drag myself to be there by 7:30, right, then those of you who are listening can also. So I was trying to get this thing like 11-ish. But Lori squashed my plans. So 7:30 in the morning at the Family Rec Center. So I hope to see a lot of people out. I do have one thing I want to discuss with the council, and we can decide this tonight, or you can chew on this till the 15th. It's not really urgent. You decide what you want to do. We've talked about a town hall meeting. We haven't had one in a while, and we talked about doing it perhaps over ARPA, and then we talked about doing some other stuff. I think it might be a good idea to do a town hall meeting where we kind of take the back seat here and let our interim city manager meet the community and let them have let him, and normally they ask questions of us. I mean, we can be there. If they have a question for us, we can always step in and answer it, but why don't we yield that to our interim city manager? It's not every day that we get a new city manager. He's going to be around for a while. What do you guys think about doing that? Now, I haven't talked to him about that.
You may say thank you, but no thank you.
Oh, yeah, but, we can put another clause in an addendum to the contract or something that he's got to show up, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on, I think people would maybe like to meet Steve and get a,
Yeah, good idea.
so, with your permission, then I will work with staff to come up with some dates and have them get with you and, that work?
That works.
Okay, very good. That's all I have. Other new business or board reports? City managers report. Welcome, Ms. Berger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I am not Dr. Spina. I am Michelle Berger, just to make sure in case anybody from at home is watching and saying, wait a minute, they just said he. I identify as she, and so I will be here to assist Dr. Spina when that time comes. One of the things I wanted to take the opportunity to say is applaud you for adding the utilities building as this great option with the infrastructure dollars that are coming outside of your general fund dollars. It's also important for you to consider this great opportunity you may have with your EOC. I know you've asked for state appropriations monies with your EOC. So if and when that comes through, there may be an immediate consideration, to speak to Vice Mayor's concerns, about creating an RFP that enables both to be bid on for a design build, so that you can expedite that process and also potentially get savings along the way. And your RFP can be written so that you don't have to go with two buildings, but you would like the option to know what it would be if you decide to go with the two facilities. So I just wanted to throw that out there because you're going to be very caught up in getting in queue throughout the state of Florida. Everybody has been inundated with dollars for stormwater projects and other building projects. So your point is well made, Vice Mayor. So that was my suggestion to you there. As far as an update with the interim town manager, city manager, he has had his first meeting yesterday with the directors, and I understand it went very well. And throughout the last 2 weeks, there have been individual meetings, including with myself, with your directors. And I will just second the comments that you received from the chief of police, and that is that the employees you have here are dedicated to committed to public service. And so our one-on-one meetings are very pointed. They're celebratory. They're also conversations of accountability, and each one has been very welcome. And so I look forward, and it's been a great process so far, to continuing it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
City Attorney's report, Mr. Schoen.
The first thing I wanted to report on is a recent compliance agreement and possible lien reduction that we've entered into with, it's going to be the new owners of this property. This was a non-homestead property. It is in the process of being sold. We did not want the lien to hinder a new owner coming in. And this wasn't a huge lien, as some of them are. This is at 105 Deer Park Avenue. The violation involved failure it was doing work without a permit, so a stop work order had been issued, and so the agreement is that the new owner will have 90 days in which to obtain the proper permits. This lien only began to run at the beginning of February. It was $25 a day. At the time that the agreement was entered into, the fine had only accrued to $300. However, if they do what they need to do by the end of the 90 days, the lien will be reduced to $500. It's not really a reduction, but $589.56. Because we were assuming that, in the 90 days, it would increase from the $300. This does include the city costs, this amount. Also, there were some other issues on the property, current violations of other things, and this was overgrowth, accumulation of debris, and a unmaintained pool in the backyard. Given the fact that the unmaintained pool presents a safety issue, the agreement is that the new property owner has to take care of these issues within 10 days from the date of closing. So that's going to need to be taken care of right away. If they don't meet these deadlines that they've now agreed to, the lien will continue to run, and the current violations are scheduled to go in front of the Code Enforcement Board. But if they meet their 10-day deadline and codes confirms that they are in compliance, then those will be dismissed. So that was that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, you may already be aware, there is Senate Bill 518 with companion House Bill 1555. This is going to amend the tree cutting statute. The statute, Section 163.045, that has been the bane of everyone's existence throughout the state and has led to a lot of removal of trees without permits. As you know, we've had at least 2 prosecutions here. One was a lot that there was nothing on it but trees and was literally clear cut before we were able to stop them and do anything about this. The amendments are going to fix I think, a lot of the problems that exist in the current statute. One of them being is that the documentation of a tree being a danger is being changed, because instead of it simply saying that the property owner obtained documentation, the property owner must possess the documentation. Also, it defines the word documentation. So it's putting some criteria on here that I believe is going to be a big help. One of the main changes is that because it applied only to residential property, residential property is being defined in this to mean a single-family detached building located on a lot that is actively used for single-family residential purposes and that is either a conforming use or a legally recognized non-conforming use in accordance with the local jurisdiction's applicable land development regulations. There won't be any more developers coming in and thinking that they can avoid our ordinances and our land development code that requires them to do a tree survey, and they need to mitigate before they well, there's a mitigation plan before they can come in and they just start willy-nilly cutting down trees in order to build. It's not going to apply to a vacant property anymore. And the better news is this has been receiving strong support as it makes its way through the committees. In fact, I checked the status and quickly looked at the committees and the votes. It doesn't look like there's actually been any nays at all. This was sponsored by a Senator Brodeur, Brodeur, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, from Lake Mary. And today, there was another vote and a third reading, and today it is being sent, what occurred in the Senate is being now sent to the other house. So we've got high hopes for this passing and solving a lot of the problems and saving our trees. So.
Thank you. It's good news.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen. Vice Mayor?
What, Mr. Schoen, what's the status of the sovereign immunity bill that's going through?
I haven't looked that up to see where that is right now, so I don't know what the status of that is. So, you're talking about the one where they're doubling our liability amount?
To $1 million? Yeah.
Yeah, the liability amount for say a municipality was $100,000 for a long, long time. Then it got doubled to $200,000. Now suddenly the proposal is that it go from $200,000 to $1 million in that jump. So this is not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Insurance.
Oh, yeah. Good, thank you, Mr. Schoen. Are there other items to come before this body? Council members? Anybody?
Thank you.
If not, we will stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.